Emery Hunter smiled, a thin, almost invisible curve of her lips. The board meeting was finally over. She had just announced the company's biggest deal in history, billions of dollars, a future secured. Everyone clapped, a low, respectful rumble. Emery Hunter looked at the room. Her eyes scanned the faces of her board members. They were all important, powerful people. But then her gaze stopped. It landed on Martin. Martin stood by the tall, wide window. He clutched his old, scratched dustpan. His heart beat fast. He wished he could just disappear. This was not his place. He was supposed to be cleaning the coffee spills in the lower offices, not standing in the executive boardroom during a historic announcement. Emery Hunter stood up from her chair. She walked slowly around the table. Her footsteps made almost no sound on the thick carpet. The air in the room grew heavy. Everyone watched her. No one spoke. She stopped in front of Martin. She was much taller than he expected. Her blue suit was perfect. Her eyes were sharp, like a hawk's. Martin felt very small. Emery Hunter held out her hand. Her fingers were long and graceful. Her nails were perfectly manicured. It was a clear sign. A handshake. A sign of thanks, of respect. Martin just stared at her hand. His own hands were rough. They were calloused from years of scrubbing floors, lifting heavy bins, and fixing small leaks. They were hands that worked hard, every single day. He did not move. He did not reach out. A sudden silence fell over the room. It was not the low rumble of clapping anymore. It was a deep, shocking quiet. Every board member leaned forward just a little. Their eyes widened. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. The CEO of Hunter Innovations, Emery Hunter, had offered her hand, and the janitor, Martin, had refused to shake it. Emery Hunter's smile vanished. Her eyes narrowed. A faint flush touched her cheeks. She was not used to being refused. Not by anyone. Especially not by someone like Martin. Martin felt a wave of heat rush over him. He knew he should shake her hand. It was the right thing to do. The polite thing. The only thing. But he couldn't. He just couldn't. His mind raced back. Back to early mornings. Back to a small, brightly lit hospital room. Back to a promise. A promise he had made to someone he loved more than life itself. It had been 3 years ago. His daughter, Lily, was only 7 years old then. She was lying in a hospital bed. Her skin was pale. Her small body was weak. Tubes ran from her tiny arm. The machines next to her beeped softly. Martin sat beside her bed. He held her hand. It was so small, so fragile. He stroked her hair. He tried to be strong for her. But inside, his heart was breaking. A kind nurse, Nurse Eva, came into the room. She smiled at Lily. Nurse Eva said, "How are we doing today, little fighter?" Lily gave a weak smile. Lily said, "Tired." Nurse Eva checked the machines. She then looked at Martin. Nurse Eva said, "She needs a specific medication. Martin, it's very new, very expensive." Martin's stomach dropped. He already worked 2 jobs. He cleaned offices all day. He drove a taxi all night. He barely slept. He had no more money to give. Martin said, "How much?" Nurse Eva looked at him with pity. Nurse Eva said, "Thousands. Every month. For years." Martin closed his eyes. Thousands. For years. It felt like a mountain he could never climb. He felt tears sting his eyes. He quickly blinked them away. He had to be strong for Lily. Lily stirred. She looked at his hands. Lily said, "Daddy, your hands are always dirty. From work." Martin forced a smile. Martin said, "That's how I earn money to buy you toys, sweetie." Lily shook her head slowly. Lily said, "No, Daddy. You work too hard. Your hands should be clean. For me." He looked at her small, pale hand. He looked at his own large, rough hands. They were covered in grease, dust, and dried coffee stains. He felt a sharp pang of guilt. Martin said, My hands will always be clean for you, Lily. I promise. I will only touch things that are good, that help us. Nothing bad will ever touch these hands again. It was a small, simple promise, made in a moment of pain and love. He didn't know then how deeply that promise would shape his future. He only knew he would do anything for his daughter. Back in the boardroom, Emery Hunter's hand was still extended. The silence grew heavier. The board members exchanged worried glances. This was a huge disrespect. Martin looked at her hand again. It was the hand of power, the hand of wealth, the hand of a company that had, through a series of complex events he barely understood, played a part in his daughter's illness. Not directly, not maliciously, but through a long, tangled chain of corporate decisions, some of them involving environmental regulations that had been loosened. He was sure of it. He had spent years researching. He knew his refusal was rude. He knew it was dangerous for his job. He knew it could get him fired on the spot. But he remembered Lily's face, her small, weak hand in his. His promise. Martin kept his hands firmly clasped around the dustpan. He looked Emery Hunter directly in the eye. He said nothing. His silence was louder than any shout. Emery Hunter slowly lowered her hand. Her face was unreadable now. The flush was gone. Her expression was cold, hard. A senior board member, an older man named Mr. Harrison, cleared his throat. Mr. Harrison said, "Lena, perhaps we should continue this discussion in private." His voice was low, trying to diffuse the tension. Emery Hunter did not look at Mr. Harrison. She did not look at anyone else. Her eyes were still locked on Martin. Emery Hunter said, "Mr. Davies, is there a reason you refuse to shake my hand?" Her voice was quiet, but it cut through the silence like a knife. Martin swallowed hard. He felt everyone's eyes on him. He felt their judgment. He felt their confusion. How could a janitor, a simple employee, defy the CEO? He knew he had to speak. He had to explain. But how could he explain the depth of his promise? How could he explain the years of pain, the fear, the anger that simmered beneath his quiet exterior? Martin looked at the clean, polished table. He looked at the expensive paintings on the walls. He looked at the powerful people who ran this giant company. And he thought of his small, struggling daughter. He took a deep breath. Martin said, "My hands, they are important to me." His voice was rough, a little shaky. It was much softer than Emery Hunter's. Emery Hunter raised an eyebrow. Emery Hunter said, "Important? Are you suggesting my hand is somehow unclean?" Her words were sharp, coated in ice. A ripple went through the board members. Some gasped softly. Others shifted uncomfortably in their seats. This was getting out of hand. Martin shook his head slowly. Martin said, "No, ma'am, not yours. Mine." He looked at his own, calloused hands, still holding the dustpan. He thought of Lily's words. "Your hands should be clean." "For me," Martin said, "I promised someone very important to me that my hands would only touch good things, things that help, things that are clean. And I need to keep that promise." The board members looked even more confused. Was he crazy? Was this some kind of protest? Emery Hunter studied him. Her gaze was intense. She was trying to read him, to understand the deeper meaning behind his strange refusal. She saw the pain in his eyes, the unwavering resolve. She thought of her own past, her own struggles. She had fought hard to get where she was. She had made many promises to herself. She knew what it meant to fight for something. A very subtle shift happened in Emery Hunter's expression. The coldness didn't entirely vanish, but something else entered her eyes. A flicker of something that looked like curiosity, or perhaps recognition. Emery Hunter said, "A promise, you say?" Her voice was still quiet, but the icy edge had softened just a bit. Martin nodded. Martin said, "Yes, ma'am. A promise I cannot break." He knew this was it. His job was surely over. He would have to find new ways to pay for Lily's medicine. The fear was a cold knot in his stomach, but the promise was stronger. The room remained silent. Everyone waited. They expected Emery Hunter to fire him on the spot, to have security escort him out, to dismiss him as a madman. But she didn't. She just stood there, looking at him. Her mind was working, turning over his words. A janitor, refusing a CEO's handshake, because of a promise to someone important. Who was this person? What was the promise? The mystery had just begun. Emery Hunter walked back to her seat. She didn't say another word. The board meeting ended quickly after that. Everyone left, talking in low voices. Martin stayed behind, cleaning up the empty coffee cups and stray papers. He felt a deep worry. He knew his job was probably gone. How would he tell Lily? The next morning, Martin arrived at Hunter Innovations before dawn. As always, the building was quiet, dark. He started his usual routine, emptying bins, wiping desks, cleaning the glass walls of the conference rooms. He expected to be called into HR. He expected his final paycheck. But the call never came. Days turned into a week. Martin kept working. He saw Emery Hunter in the hallways sometimes. She would nod, a small, brief movement. Her eyes would hold a look he couldn't quite place. It wasn't anger. It wasn't understanding. It was something in between, a puzzle. One afternoon, Martin was cleaning the executive floor. He saw Emery Hunter's office door open a crack. He heard voices. She was talking to Mr. Harrison. Mr. Harrison said, "Lena, the incident with Mr. Davies was unprofessional. His behavior was out of line. We need to set an example." Emery Hunter's voice was calm. Emery Hunter said, "His behavior was unusual, Mr. Harrison. Not necessarily unprofessional. There's a difference." Mr. Harrison scoffed. Mr. Harrison said, "He refused to shake your hand, Lena, in front of the entire board. It was a clear sign of disrespect." Emery Hunter said, "Or a clear sign of something else entirely. We don't know his reasons fully." Mr. Harrison said, "He spoke of a promise. Sounds like an excuse to me. Perhaps he has mental issues." Emery Hunter's voice became sharper. Emery Hunter said, "That is a serious accusation, Mr. Harrison. Without any proof, I want to understand him, not dismiss him." Martin froze, dust rag in hand. He couldn't believe she was defending him. "Why?" Mr. Harrison said, "Lena, we have more important matters. The new environmental regulations for Project Nightingale are coming up. We need to decide how to respond. That's billions at stake, not a janitor's strange behavior." Emery Hunter said, "All matters are important, Mr. Harrison, even those that seem small. And yes, Project Nightingale. I've been reviewing those old environmental impact reports, the ones from 3 years ago." Martin's blood ran cold. 3 years ago. Project Nightingale. That was the huge chemical plant Hunter Innovations had built in their hometown. The plant that had started operating right around the time Lily's rare illness had been diagnosed. He had researched it. He had found many unanswered questions. He listened closer. Mr. Harrison's voice dropped. Mr. Harrison said, "Those reports are confidential, Lena, and cleared by all necessary agencies. We followed every rule." Emery Hunter said, "Did we, Mr. Harrison? Every single one? What about the local water quality tests? The ones before and after construction?" Martin felt a surge of hope, sharp and sudden. He had been trying to get those water quality reports for years. They were always blocked, always hidden. "Mr. Harrison said, Lena, this is dangerous ground. Old news. Reopening that could expose us to legal trouble." Emery Hunter said, "Or it could ensure we are truly operating ethically. I want those original, raw data reports. The ones before they were summarized for the public." Martin's hands trembled. Raw data. He knew exactly what she was talking about. He had a strong feeling that the summarized reports had hidden something. Something about the chemicals released into the local river. The river, where Lily used to play. The river that was now a dead zone. He heard Mr. Harrison sigh heavily. Mr. Harrison said, "Very well, Lena. I'll see what I can find. But I warn you, this is a rabbit hole you don't want to go down." Emery Hunter's voice was firm. Emery Hunter said, "I make my own decisions, Mr. Harrison." The office door closed fully. Then, Martin stood there, heart pounding. Emery Hunter was looking into Project Nightingale. The project he believed had caused his daughter's illness. The project he had refused to shake her hand for. A strange, complex web was forming. Martin, the silent janitor, held a secret pain. Emery Hunter, the powerful CEO, was starting to question her own company's past. Their paths, once so far apart, were beginning to cross in unexpected ways. The mystery of the handshake was deepening. It was no longer just about respect. It was about truth and justice. Days turned into weeks. Martin continued his work, but now with a new sense of purpose. He watched Emery Hunter more closely. He saw her late at night, hunched over her desk, lights on in her office. He wondered if she was looking at those old reports. One evening, Martin was cleaning the executive washrooms. He heard a loud crash from Emery Hunter's office. He rushed over. The door was ajar. Emery Hunter stood amidst scattered papers and an overturned wastebasket. Her face was pale. She clutched a thick file. Martin said, "Ma'am, are you all right?" Emery Hunter jumped. She hadn't heard him. She looked startled, then angry. Emery Hunter said, "It's nothing, Mr. Davies. Just a mess. Please leave." But Martin saw the distress in her eyes. He also saw a page on the floor. It showed a graph, a sharp spike in certain chemical levels, dated 3 years ago. The exact time. Martin said, "I can help clean that, ma'am." He moved to pick up the papers. Emery Hunter hesitated. Emery Hunter said, "No, really, it's fine." But she didn't move to stop him. As he gathered the papers, Martin saw more. Names of specific chemicals, health warnings, dates. It was all from the Project Nightingale environmental reports. His heart began to pound. He felt a cold dread. He quickly scanned a page. It listed an unusual contaminant, Compound X. He remembered that name. He had seen it in an obscure medical journal. It was linked to rare autoimmune diseases, especially in children. Lily's disease. Emery Hunter watched him. She saw the change in his face. She saw his eyes widen as he read. Emery Hunter said, "What are you looking at, Mr. Davies?" Her voice was low. Martin slowly stood up. He held the crumpled page. Martin said, "Compound X. This is from the Nightingale reports." Emery Hunter stared at him. Her eyes were sharp again. Emery Hunter said, "How do you know that name? And what do you know about Project Nightingale?" Martin felt a surge of emotion, anger, fear, but also a strange courage. This was his chance. Martin said, "My daughter, Lily. She has a rare autoimmune disease. It was diagnosed 3 years ago, right when your plant started operating." Emery Hunter gasped softly. Her face went even paler. Emery Hunter said, "Are you suggesting?" Martin nodded. Martin said, "I've researched everything I could. This Compound X, it's linked to diseases like hers. I believe the plant released it, and that your company covered it up." Emery Hunter looked at the documents in her hand, then at Martin. Her powerful world had just collided with his painful one. Emery Hunter said, "Covered it up? That's a serious accusation, Mr. Davies. But I've been finding discrepancies too. The summarized reports are very different from the raw data." Martin said, "The raw data? Yes. I've been trying to get it for years. Always blocked." Emery Hunter ran a hand through her hair. She looked tired. Emery Hunter said. Someone has been very careful. Manipulating the information. I found a hidden ledger. Payments to a consulting firm. They specialize in interpreting environmental findings. Martin felt a jolt. This was bigger than he thought. A deliberate cover-up. Not just carelessness. Emery Hunter said, I've been going through hundreds of old files. Mr. Harrison has been fighting me every step of the way. Martin said, Mr. Harrison was in charge of Project Nightingale's approval process. Wasn't he? Emery Hunter looked at Martin. Her eyes widened slightly. Emery Hunter said, yes. He was the lead executive for that project. A chill went down Martin's spine. Harrison, the same man who wanted him fired. The same man who didn't want Emery Hunter to look into the old reports. Emery Hunter said, I think Mr. Harrison knew. He knew about Compound X, and he knew what it could do. Her voice was barely a whisper. The pieces were falling into place for Martin. The handshake refusal, the promise to Lily, Emery Hunter's investigation. It was all connected. He had refused to shake a hand that was part of the system that had hurt his daughter. But now the CEO was fighting for the truth. Emery Hunter looked at Martin with new eyes. Not as a janitor, but as a father, as a victim, as someone who knew more than he let on. Emery Hunter said, Martin, I need your help. Martin felt a strange mix of fear and resolve. His life had just changed in an instant. He was no longer just a janitor. He was now an unexpected ally in a corporate thriller. Martin stared at Emery Hunter. Her request hung in the air. I need your help. It was unexpected, powerful. Martin said, My help? Ma'am? I'm just a janitor. Emery Hunter shook her head. Emery Hunter said, You're a father who knows more about Compound X and Project Nightingale than anyone else I've met. You've researched this for years. You have personal stakes. That makes you valuable. She handed him a thick folder. Emery Hunter said, These are the raw data files. The ones Harrison tried to hide. I need you to go through them. Look for anything that seems off. Any unusual patterns. You know the local area. You know the environment. Martin took the folder. It felt heavy in his hands. He felt a thrill of fear mixed with excitement. This was his chance to get justice for Lily, but it was also very dangerous. Martin said, What about my job? Emery Hunter met his gaze. Emery Hunter said, Your job is secure. More than secure. From now on, you'll be working directly with me, quietly. No one needs to know what you're doing. Over the next few weeks, Martin worked in secret. During his cleaning shifts, he would sneak into Emery Hunter's office late at night. He would spread out the documents on her large, polished desk. He pored over maps, chemical reports, and water samples. Emery Hunter would join him sometimes. After everyone else had left, they would sit together in the quiet office, surrounded by the secrets of Hunter innovations. She explained corporate structures. He explained local water currents and the changes he'd seen in the river. One night, Martin pointed to a section of a map. It showed the river's flow. Martin said, This is where the drainage pipes from the plant empty. And this is where Lily's school used to have their outdoor science lessons. Downstream, Emery Hunter's face was grim. Emery Hunter said, And the water tests from that area show the highest levels of Compound X, even after they were adjusted in the public reports. Martin found small, almost invisible changes in the raw data. Dates that didn't quite line up. Missing entries. He noticed that specific tests were always done on days with heavy rain. Rain would dilute the chemicals, making them harder to detect. Martin said, They chose rainy days to make the numbers look lower. Emery Hunter slammed her fist softly on the table. Emery Hunter said, That's it. It was deliberate. A calculated deception. They discovered a pattern of hush money payments to a small, private lab. This lab was supposed to confirm the company's clean environmental record, but their own internal reports told a different story. One evening, Mr. Harrison walked past Emery Hunter's office. The door was slightly open. He saw Martin sitting at Emery Hunter's desk, surrounded by documents. He stopped dead. His eyes narrowed. "Mr. Harrison said, "Mr. Davies? What exactly are you doing in the CEO's office at this hour?" His voice was cold, accusing. Martin froze. He looked at Emery Hunter. She stood up, her face calm. Emery Hunter said, "Mr. Davies is assisting me with a special project, Mr. Harrison. An internal review." Mr. Harrison's gaze flickered between Martin and the scattered documents. He saw the files marked Project Nightingale, raw data. A look of pure fear flashed across his face. "Mr. Harrison said, an internal review? Of what?" "Those old reports are settled." His voice was tight, strained. Emery Hunter said, "Nothing is settled, Mr. Harrison, until the truth is known, and sometimes the truth takes time to uncover and unexpected eyes to see it." She looked pointedly at Martin. Mr. Harrison quickly recovered. Mr. Harrison said, "I warn you, Lena. Reopening this can cause serious damage to the company and to those involved." He glared at Martin. It was a clear threat. Emery Hunter smiled, a cold, hard smile. Emery Hunter said, "I'm prepared for that damage." "Mr. Harrison, are you?" Mr. Harrison said nothing. He simply turned and walked away, his shoulders stiff. Martin watched him go. He knew then that they were getting close. Harrison was scared. The stakes were rising. This wasn't just about Lily anymore. It was about exposing a huge corporate lie, and they were right in the middle of it. He felt Emery Hunter's hand on his shoulder, a gesture of trust, and a shared burden. The tension in Hunter Innovations grew thicker each day. Mr. Harrison began to act strangely. He became secretive, locking his office door more often, taking calls in hushed tones. He also started watching Martin, his eyes following the janitor with a cold, angry gaze. Emery Hunter and Martin kept working in secret. They found more evidence. Emails hinting at payoffs. Documents with altered numbers. It all pointed to Mr. Harrison being the mastermind behind the cover-up. He had ordered the environmental reports to be falsified. He had bribed the small lab. He had put profits above people's health. One night, Martin was alone in Emery Hunter's office. He was cross-referencing a list of local residents with a health database he had found. Many children in Lily's age group, living near the plant, had similar rare illnesses. The pattern was undeniable. Suddenly, the office door burst open. Mr. Harrison stood there, his face red with rage. He had a key. Mr. Harrison said, "What do you think you're doing, you meddling fool?" He strode towards the desk. Martin jumped up, scattering papers. Martin said, "I'm working, just like Miss Hunter told me to." Mr. Harrison slammed his hand on the desk. Mr. Harrison said, "You and Emery Hunter, both of you trying to dig up old dirt. This will ruin the company. Ruin us all." He grabbed a stack of documents. Martin lunged forward. Martin said, "No, those are evidence." He wrestled the papers from Harrison's grasp. A struggle began. Harrison was older, but strong with anger. He pushed Martin against the wall. Martin hit his head, a sharp pain. Papers flew everywhere. Mr. Harrison said, "You have no idea who you're dealing with, Janitor. I built this company almost as much as Hunter himself. I will not let you destroy my legacy." Martin fought back. He wasn't just fighting for papers anymore. He was fighting for Lily, for all the children. He saw Harrison's desperate fear, a fear that made him dangerous. Just then, Emery Hunter walked in. She had been finishing up a late meeting in another wing. She saw the chaos. Her office was a mess. Martin was on the floor, holding his head. Mr. Harrison stood over him, breathing heavily. Emery Hunter's eyes flashed with fury. Emery Hunter said, "Mr. Harrison, what is the meaning of this?" Mr. Harrison straightened up, trying to compose himself. Mr. Harrison said, Lena, thank goodness you're here. This man was stealing confidential files. He attacked me. He pointed at Martin. Martin pushed himself up. Martin said, he's lying. He broke into your office. He tried to destroy the evidence. He pointed to the scattered files. The raw data. The proof of Compound X. Emery Hunter looked at the mess. She saw the overturned chairs, the angry faces. She knew who was telling the truth. Emery Hunter said, Get out, Mr. Harrison. Get out of my office. And don't come back. Her voice was low, but powerful. Mr. Harrison blanched. Mr. Harrison said, Lena, you can't be serious. I am a senior board member. Emery Hunter said, You are a man who tried to hide the truth. You compromised the health of an entire community for profit, and you just assaulted an employee. You were done at Hunter Innovations. Mr. Harrison stared at her, then at Martin. His face was a mask of defeat and rage. He knew he was caught. He turned and stormed out, slamming the door. Emery Hunter rushed to Martin's side. Emery Hunter said, Are you all right, Martin? Let me see your head. Martin touched his head. It was sore. Martin said, I'm fine. But he was trying to get rid of the evidence. He picked up a crucial file. We need to secure this. All of it. Emery Hunter nodded. Emery Hunter said, We have enough now. More than enough. It's time to bring this to the full board. And the authorities. The hidden partnership between the janitor and the CEO had reached its peak. The quiet quest for truth had exploded into open conflict. The stakes were higher than ever, and the battle for justice was about to begin. The next morning, the atmosphere at Hunter Innovations was buzzing. Word of Mr. Harrison's outburst had spread like wildfire. Everyone knew something big was happening. Martin felt a mix of fear and strange calm. He knew what he had to do. Emery Hunter called an emergency board meeting. She made sure Martin was there, not as a janitor, but as a key witness. The boardroom was tense. The board members sat stiffly, their faces serious. Mr. Harrison was not present. He had been suspended. Emery Hunter stood at the head of the table. She began to speak. Her voice was clear and strong. Emery Hunter said, Members of the board, I have uncovered a grave deception within our company. A deception that affects not just our finances, but the health and well-being of innocent people. She projected slides onto the large screen. They showed the original, unedited environmental reports for Project Nightingale. Side by side, she showed the falsified reports that had been made public. The differences were stark. The numbers for Compound X were drastically higher in the true reports. Emery Hunter said, For years, Hunter Innovations knowingly released a dangerous chemical, Compound X, into the local environment. It was covered up. It was hidden from the public. And this cover-up led directly to serious health consequences for the community, particularly children. A gasp went through the room. The board members looked horrified. This was far worse than anyone had imagined. Emery Hunter then called Martin forward. Martin walked to the front of the room. He felt every eye on him. He held his head high. He was no longer just a janitor. He was a father fighting for his child. Emery Hunter said, Mr. Martin Davies, an employee of this company, has been instrumental in uncovering this truth. His own daughter, Lily, suffers from a rare autoimmune disease, a disease directly linked to Compound X. Martin then spoke. His voice was steady. Martin said, I watched my daughter get sicker. I researched. I connected the dots. I found out about Compound X. I found out about the plant. I even saw the changes in our river, the fish dying, the plants withering. He explained how he had tried to get the raw data for years, how it had always been blocked, how Emery Hunter had finally given him the chance to see it. Martin said, When Miss Hunter asked for my help, I saw a chance for justice. Not just for Lily, but for everyone. He detailed the methods of deception they had found, the rainy day tests, the hidden ledger, the payments to the fake consulting firm. He spoke with passion, with the weight of his personal pain giving his words immense power. The board members listened in stunned silence. Some looked away, ashamed. Others stared at the evidence, their faces pale. Emory Hunter then revealed the depth of Mr. Harrison's involvement. Emory Hunter said, "Mr. Harrison not only orchestrated this cover-up, but also actively tried to obstruct my investigation. He tried to destroy evidence. He even assaulted Mr. Davies in my office last night." She showed security footage from the previous night. It clearly showed Mr. Harrison pushing Martin, trying to grab documents. The board members watched in disbelief. The evidence was overwhelming. A senior board member, Miss Chin, spoke up. Miss Chin said, "Lena, this is unforgivable. Mr. Harrison's actions are a betrayal of everything this company stands for. We need to act immediately." Another board member, Mr. Davies, no relation to Martin, said, "And the victims, Lena? What about the community? What about Martin's daughter?" Emory Hunter nodded. Emory Hunter said, "We will address that. First, we must deal with the truth. We will report Mr. Harrison to the authorities. We will cooperate fully with all investigations, and we will ensure that justice is served." She looked at Martin, a silent promise in her eyes. The truth was out. The first big hurdle was overcome. But the fight for healing and justice had only just begun. The journey of the janitor and the CEO had taken a dramatic turn, from a simple handshake refusal to a full-blown corporate exposé. The board meeting ended with a clear vote. Mr. Harrison was fired at once. The company reported him to the authorities. They began to cooperate with government agencies. News of the scandal broke. It hit the headlines. Hunter Innovations, accused of cover-up. Chemicals linked to child illnesses. The company faced a huge crisis. Emory Hunter knew this would happen. She was ready. She held a press conference. She stood before cameras and reporters. Emory Hunter said, "Hunter Innovations made a terrible mistake. Under previous leadership, we failed our community. We knowingly endangered lives. As CEO, I take full responsibility for this." She announced that the company would shut down the Project Nightingale plant immediately. She promised full financial support for all affected families. This included medical care for children like Lily. She also announced a massive cleanup effort for the river and surrounding areas. Emory Hunter said, "We will not rest until every wrong is made right. We will transform this company. We will put people and the planet before profit." Her words were met with a mix of anger and cautious hope from the public. But within the company, her bold actions brought respect. Some board members, especially those who had been against her investigation, now saw her strength and honesty. Martin watched the press conference from home, with Lily by his side. Lily, now 10, was still fighting her illness. But she was stronger. She was smiling more. She saw her dad on TV, standing next to Emory Hunter. Lily said, "Daddy, you're a hero." Martin hugged her tight. Martin said, "No, sweetie, we just helped tell the truth." He knew this was only the beginning. The biggest fight was still ahead. Lily's long-term health, the community's trust. But he felt a sense of peace he hadn't felt in years. He had kept his promise. His hands had helped bring truth and justice. Emory Hunter reached out to Martin often. They worked together on setting up the community outreach program. Martin's knowledge of the local area and his personal story made him invaluable. He helped connect families with the company's new support system. One day, Martin visited Emory Hunter in her office. It was no longer late at night, in secret. It was during the day. Their roles had changed. Emory Hunter said, "Martin, the lawyers are starting the compensation process. We want to make sure every family gets what they need. Your input is vital here." Martin nodded. Martin said, "Many families are still scared. They don't trust the company. It will take time." Emery Hunter said, "I know, but we will earn that trust back, one step at a time." She paused. Emery Hunter said, "And your daughter, Lily, how is she doing with the new treatment?" Martin smiled. Martin said, "She's responding well. The doctors are hopeful. She's even talking about going back to school full-time next year." Emery Hunter's face softened. Emery Hunter said, "That's wonderful news, Martin. Truly wonderful." Martin felt a warmth spread through him. This woman, once a powerful stranger, was now an ally. She had listened. She had fought. She had given him hope. A few months later, Mr. Harrison was charged with fraud and environmental crimes. The legal process would be long, but justice was on its way. The community began to see Hunter Innovations in a new light. Slowly, carefully, trust was being rebuilt. The river, once dead, showed signs of life. New plants began to grow. Small fish returned. The cleanup was working. It was a long road, but a road filled with hope. Emery Hunter knew the company's reputation would take years to heal. But she was committed. She had learned a hard lesson. And Martin, the janitor she had once tried to shake hands with, had been her unlikely teacher. His quiet refusal had changed everything. It had forced her to look deeper, to see the hidden truths, and to find her own path to redemption. The transformation of Hunter Innovations was a slow, difficult process. It was like healing a deep wound. Emery Hunter worked tirelessly. She put new, strict environmental rules in place. She made sure all operations were transparent. She even started an independent oversight committee. Its job was to make sure the company always put safety first. Martin, once the invisible janitor, now held a new, official role. He became the community liaison for Hunter Innovations. His job was to work with the affected families, to be their voice within the company. He made sure their needs were met. He helped them navigate the medical and legal systems. His quiet strength and deep empathy made him perfect for the role. He still cleaned sometimes, not floors, but his office, his desk. He still carried a small, clean dustpan. It was a reminder of where he came from, a reminder of his promise. One sunny afternoon, Emery Hunter and Martin stood together by the newly cleaned riverbank. Lily was there, too. She was running and laughing with other children. Her face was bright with health. She looked so full of life. It was a sight Martin had once feared he might never see again. Emery Hunter watched Lily. Emery Hunter said, "She's a remarkable girl, Martin. So strong." Martin smiled. Martin said, "She is, thanks to you, Lena, and the new treatments." Emery Hunter turned to him. Emery Hunter said, "No, Martin, thanks to you. Your courage. Your refusal to back down. You showed me what true integrity looks like. You taught me that even the smallest voice can shake the biggest foundations." Martin felt a blush. He had never thought of himself as courageous. He was just a father. Martin said, "I just wanted to keep my promise to Lily." Emery Hunter said, "And you did. And in doing so, you saved more than just your daughter. You helped save this company. You forced us to become what we always should have been." She paused. Emery Hunter said, "The board has approved a special project, Martin, a new research facility, focused on environmental health and childhood diseases, named the Lily Davies Research Center." Martin's eyes widened. He was speechless. A center named after his daughter. A place that would work to prevent other children from suffering like Lily. Martin said, That's incredible, Lena." His voice was thick with emotion. Emery Hunter said, "It's a small step, but it's a step towards real redemption, and we want you to be on its founding board. You know more about the human impact of these issues than anyone." Martin felt tears sting his eyes. He thought of Lily, running free. He thought of his promise. He thought of the dirty hands he had once protected. Now, those hands were helping build something truly good. Later that week, Martin was walking through the company lobby. A new janitor, a young man named Alex, was mopping the floor. Alex looked tired. He looked like Martin had once looked. Martin stopped. Martin said, "Hard work, isn't it?" Alex looked up, surprised. Alex said, "Yes, sir, but it pays the bills." Martin smiled. Martin said, "It does. And sometimes, it can change the world." He walked on, his heart full. He knew his journey was far from over. But the path ahead was clear. It was a path built on truth, on justice, and on the quiet power of a promise kept. The shadow of Project Nightingale began to lift. Hunter Innovations was not just a company anymore. It was a symbol of change, a symbol of how even the deepest wrongs could be righted. And at its heart was the unlikely alliance of a powerful CEO and a humble janitor, an alliance born from a refused handshake and forged in the fire of truth. It was a story of resilience, redemption, and the extraordinary power of an underdog. The company was now truly innovating, not just in technology, but in ethics. Emery Hunter had truly transformed. She was no longer just a ruthless CEO. She was a leader with a conscience, guided by the difficult lessons she had learned. Her focus had shifted from mere profit to a deeper sense of corporate responsibility. She regularly visited the community, listening to families, offering support, ensuring the company's commitment was real and lasting. Martin's life had also been completely remade. His new role brought him into contact with medical professionals, scientists, and policymakers. He learned fast. His experiences gave him a unique perspective. He became an advocate, a public speaker, sharing Lily's story and the lessons learned from the Hunter Innovation scandal. He made sure no one forgot the human cost of corporate neglect. And his hands, once calloused from cleaning, were now used to shake hands with those who would help build a better future. The Lily Davies Research Center opened its doors a year later. It was a bright, modern building. It had state-of-the-art labs and dedicated spaces for families. Martin stood on the stage at the opening ceremony. Emery Hunter was by his side. Lily, now strong and healthy, sat in the front row. Martin looked out at the crowd. He saw former board members, community leaders, and many of the families he had worked with. He saw Nurse Eva, who had cared for Lily in the hospital. He saw the new janitor, Alex, standing at the back. Martin said, 3 years ago, my hands were dirty. My heart was broken. I made a promise to my daughter, Lily, that my hands would only touch good things, things that help, things that are clean. He held up his hands, now clean, strong, and ready for new work. Martin said, that promise led me on an unexpected journey. It led me to discover a terrible truth. And it led me to a partnership with someone I once refused to shake hands with. He looked at Emery Hunter. Martin said, Emery Hunter, the CEO of Hunter Innovations, could have fired me. She could have ignored my claims. Instead, she chose to listen. She chose to fight for the truth. She chose to put people before profit. Her courage, her willingness to change, has made all this possible. Emery Hunter stepped forward. Emery Hunter said, Martin's story is the heart of our transformation. He taught us that true innovation isn't just about technology or profit. It's about responsibility. It's about empathy. It's about building a future where no child has to suffer because of corporate greed. Emery Hunter said, the Lily Davies Research Center is our promise to that future. It is a symbol of our commitment to healing, to prevention, and to ethical science. After the speeches, people gathered in the main hall. Lily came up to Martin, holding his hand. Lily said, Daddy, I'm proud of you. Martin knelt down and hugged her. Martin said, I'm proud of you too, sweetie. You're the strongest person I know. He saw Emery Hunter walking towards them. Emery Hunter smiled warmly at Lily. Emery Hunter said, "Hello, Lily. This center wouldn't be here without you." Lily, shy but happy, smiled back. Emery Hunter then turned to Martin. She held out her hand. This time, her eyes held no coldness, no challenge. Only respect and a deep, shared understanding. Emery Hunter said, "Martin, it's an honor to stand with you today, to have worked with you, and to continue working with you for a better future." Martin looked at her hand. It was still elegant, still powerful, but now he saw beyond the power. He saw the honesty. He saw the hard-earned change. He saw a hand that had helped him keep his promise. He reached out. His calloused hand, now clean, met hers. They shook hands firmly. It was more than a gesture. It was a bond, a symbol of their journey, a journey that started with a refusal and ended with a partnership. The world watched as Hunter Innovations, once shamed, began to rise again. But this time, it was different. It was a company built on a foundation of integrity, a testament to the power of one janitor's promise and one CEO's courage to change. The future looked brighter, not just for Lily, but for the entire community. And Martin, the janitor who refused to shake a hand, had found his true calling. He was a father, an advocate, a hero. And he knew his hands were finally touching only good things. And that was all he ever wanted. Years passed. The Lily Davies Research Center became a leading institution. It made breakthroughs in treating autoimmune diseases. It also developed new ways to prevent environmental pollution. Martin, as a board member, was deeply involved in its growth. He often gave talks to young scientists. He inspired them with his story. Hunter Innovations, under Emery Hunter's leadership, became a model for ethical business. They invested heavily in green technology. They ensured community involvement in every new project. The company's profits grew again, but this time, they were built on a foundation of trust. Martin's life changed completely. He moved out of his small apartment. He bought a small house with a garden for Lily. Lily thrived. She went to college, studying environmental science. She wanted to follow in her father's footsteps. She wanted to ensure no other child suffered. One day, Martin was invited to speak at a big international business ethics conference. Emery Hunter was also a keynote speaker. They met backstage before their talks. Emery Hunter smiled at him. Emery Hunter said, "Remember that day, Martin, when you refused my handshake?" Martin chuckled. Martin said, "How could I forget, Lena? It felt like the end of my world then." Emery Hunter said, "And the beginning of mine. You opened my eyes. You forced me to see the truth about our company, about myself. I was so focused on success, I forgot about impact. You reminded me," Martin said, "and you had the courage to act. Many CEOs wouldn't have. Many would have covered it up even more." Emery Hunter said, "It wasn't easy. There was a lot of pushback. Many powerful people wanted to keep things quiet. But your story, Lily's story, it gave me strength." She paused, looking reflective. Emery Hunter said, "You know, before all this, I thought power meant control. Now I understand it means responsibility. Responsibility to do what's right, no matter the cost." Martin nodded. Martin said, "It's a lesson we both learned, I think. Just from different sides of the fence," Emery Hunter said. "Indeed. And look at us now, sharing a stage, advocating for ethical business. Who would have thought?" Martin smiled. Martin said, "It's a good story, isn't it? The janitor and the CEO." Emery Hunter said, "The best kind of story. The one where everyone grows, where wrongs are righted, where potential is found in the most unexpected places." She extended her hand again, a familiar gesture. Emery Hunter said, "For old time's sake?" Martin took her hand. It was a firm, confident grip, a handshake between equals, between friends, between partners who had fought a hard battle 1. He thought of Lily, now a bright young woman. He thought of the thriving research center. He thought of the clean river. All of it stemmed from that one moment, that one refusal, that one promise. The story of Martin and Emery Hunter became a legend in the corporate world. It was a reminder that even in the highest towers of power, humanity and integrity could still triumph. It showed that an ordinary person, with extraordinary love and an unbreakable promise, could spark a revolution. It proved that true strength wasn't about status or wealth, but about conviction and the courage to stand for what is right. And that sometimes, the most powerful acts are the quietest. The refusal of a simple handshake, the persistence of a janitor's love, the transformation of a CEO's heart. Martin stood on the conference stage. The lights were bright. A hush fell over the large audience. He adjusted the microphone. Martin said, "My name is Martin Davies, and my story begins with a promise. A promise made to my daughter, Lily, that my hands would always be clean, that they would only touch good things." He spoke about Lily's illness, the fear, the sleepless nights. He described his desperate search for answers. He told them about Project Nightingale, Compound X, and the silent suffering of his community. His voice was calm, but filled with deep emotion. Martin said, "I was just a janitor, an invisible part of a powerful company. But when I saw the CEO, Emery Hunter, offer her hand, I couldn't shake it. My hands, calloused from cleaning, were tied by that promise. I couldn't touch a hand that represented the very thing that hurt my child." He looked at Emery Hunter, who sat in the front row, listening intently. Martin said, "That moment, that refusal, changed everything. It started a chain of events that no one could have predicted." He recounted their secret partnership, the late nights in Emery Hunter's office, the uncovering of falsified reports, the confrontation with Mr. Harrison, the emergency board meeting. He painted a vivid picture of the high-stakes corporate thriller they had lived through. Martin said, "It wasn't just about exposing a lie. It was about redemption. For the company, for Lena, and for me, it was about finding justice for Lily." He described the transformation of Hunter Innovations, the closure of the polluting plant, the massive cleanup, the launch of the Lily Davies Research Center. He spoke of the real, tangible changes in his community, in his daughter's health, and in his own life. Martin said, "Emery Hunter, a powerful CEO, made a choice. She chose truth over profit. She chose integrity over reputation. And in doing so, she taught me that even the most powerful can change, that humanity can exist at the highest levels of business." He paused, letting his words sink in. Martin said, "And I, the janitor, learned that even the quietest voice, fueled by love and an unbreakable promise, can create monumental change. We often feel small in the face of big problems, but every journey begins with a single step, or, in my case, with a single, unshaken hand." The audience gave a standing ovation. Martin felt a profound sense of accomplishment, not for the applause, but for the truth he had shared. Later, at a private reception, a young intern approached Martin. Intern said, "Mr. Davies, your story is amazing. I always thought big companies were just about money, but you showed me something else." Martin smiled. Martin said, "They can be, but they can also be about people. It just takes someone to remind them." He saw Emery Hunter talking to a group of business leaders. Her face was animated. She was no longer the cold, distant CEO. She was a passionate advocate. Martin knew that their story was a testament to the power of the underdog, to the strength of parental love, to the possibility of redemption. It was a beacon of hope in a world often overshadowed by greed. It was a reminder that deep down, people want to do the right thing, if only someone gives them the courage to start. And sometimes, that courage comes from the most unexpected place. A simple janitor, and a handshake refused. Their shared journey had not only brought justice, but also sparked a new way of thinking about business, ethics, and human connection. And the legacy of Lily Davies, a once sick child, would continue to inspire for generations. And so, Martin and Lena's story became a beacon, a powerful testament to how integrity, courage, and an unbreakable promise reshaped powerful institutions. The ripples of that refused handshake spread far, forever changing countless lives. Their legacy was etched in the clean river, healthy children, and the thriving Lily's Center, a silent revolution led by an unexpected pair. Their story continues to inspire, and in their story, we find a truth as profound as it is simple. That change, true change, often starts not with a roar, but with a whisper. And a promise, once made in quiet desperation, forever echoed as a testament to hope. And that, dear viewer, is the extraordinary story of Martin and Emery Hunter. A testament to courage, to love, and to the quiet power of an underdog's promise. What part of their journey moved you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story touched your heart, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more tales of resilience and redemption. Join our community as we explore stories that truly matter